Hey everybody, this is Jake. I have Chris, the founder of Mutant Metals, back on the podcast for round two. We're going to dive right into the rogue stuff. So, Chris, first question: when did you see that Rogue release the Velocidor, and what were your initial thoughts?
Um, I think I seen it the first day that they previewed it, or maybe the day after. Um, I actually didn't see it myself. I just kind of woke up to,
Hmm.
after I checked my Instagrams and email and Facebook, and I was getting lit up with all kinds of stuff about their dip attachment. Um, and at first, I think it was just kind of like you don't know what's going to happen. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? You don't know. But it went into kind of this fear of, well, I know they're different products, and I checked them out before I said anything. I try to get as much information before I said anything. Um, and they look similar on the face. Um, they are different. But I didn't really know how different until I kind of dug a little more into their preview. And but at first it was kind of scary because you have this freight train coming at you, that's Rogue Fitness, and you don't know, like, are they targeting you? Are they just um, have they just noticed that it's some part in the market that they want to address, whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, initially it was kind of scary, and it was basically it all happened within 2 days. It was just a bunch of people sending me posts. Um, and then the day after everything kind of came out, I got an email from Rogue the next day. So I'm like, oh boy. The first initial reaction is, you know, what is this going to be? Is there something about their patent that they're going to try to do whatever with? I don't know. So initially, I, my guard was up quite a bit. Um, they asked to have a phone call with me, and I talked to Amick over at Rogue Fitness. And at first I told him, I'd like to record this phone call, real guarded, because I didn't know what they were going to say, what they were going to do. I no idea, and I know about as much about Rogue as like any other person would know that's just in this industry. Um, I knew that Bill was the owner. I've seen him on Instagram, um, and I was familiar with their products. But besides that, I really didn't know what was going on. But so that first phone call was kind of nerve wracking. Um, but they they seemed initially really concerned about, you know they didn't want to target me. They wanted to make it clear that they weren't targeting me. Um, and that they didn't want to impact me financially. And I don't think they really knew our whole situation and how it might impact us. Um, you know, because if, say, 3, 4 people decide to buy the Rogue version over our version a month, that's our electric bill. That's that's going into a shipping account. It's something just to keep the ball moving forward. And that was the scariest part, is just because the power of their distribution, and they make good products. So it wasn't like the Chinese versions that I've seen previously, where you look at them and you could tell they're pretty low quality. They don't really look the same. They're kind of just sloppy all around. Um, but the Rogue version, I mean, they got their stuff down as far as manufacturing goes. So, um, and for like a cost plus model that they run, they usually produce a, a pretty good consistent product. So it's like I used to be able to just kind of hang my hat on the idea that our quality's higher, people like American made. Um, so it wasn't a huge deal, and I don't have any patents or anything like that on any of my stuff so far. Um, so yeah, I mean it was it was interesting, but I I
I'd be curious to just like hear who is Amic. I doubt most people listening know. And then yeah, what like where did you leave that first conversation? Like what were the next steps?
so I believe Amic is their he's kind of like their head of like development or
Yeah.
um and he contacted me first. Um, and their initial solution to the problem was to our problem was that they offered to let us sell our products in their store. And that alone would have been huge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I thought about that for a little bit. We got off the phone and I, initially I was pretty excited that they were interested in trying to do something to rectify the situation a little bit. Um, but then it was just this, it was back to terror again because it's like, this is Rogue's distribution. I can't keep up with my own production right now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's no way that I'm going to all of a sudden be able to handle another, who knows, 100 orders a month or whatever it worked out to be. And it would take me forever to get these things in stock all the time. So I knew they were just going to be out of stock constantly. And it was just going to be another scaling nightmare um, that I knew I couldn't handle. And I expressed that to them. And they they said, well, they had a different idea as far as, well, why don't we take a look at maybe building a version of this thing for you? And that was a crazy, you know, I'm it still hasn't really sunk in what's going on right now, but
Uh-huh.
you know, they offered uh, to build the dip attachment, and so what I did was we set up a meeting. I went down the Rogue HQ. Um, they walked us around, kind of showed us what they do, what they're about there. I met with Bill and Amic. They took us to lunch. We talked everything over as far as like what our intentions are, what their intentions are, and I talked to Bill quite a bit, and I talked to him before I went down the Rogue HQ. Also, he gave me a call, and he seemed really adamant that he didn't want um, he didn't want this vision of Rogue as some kind of big bully in the market that's just going to take over everything.
Mm-hmm.
They still, when we were down there, they're working on a lot of projects, still trying to innovate on certain fronts. And it's this crazy facility that is kind of reminiscent of like what you would see at like GM or Ford or something like that, where um, everything is just so systematic. Everything is dialed. Everything is like this military esque, in a good way, kind of just everything has its place. Everything does its job, and everything is dialed in. And um, So, and that experience too kind of opened my eyes a little bit to what it would take to scale a manufacturing business. Um, and I've been kind of looking at my life
Right.
recently as far as, do I really want to go down this road of scaling a manufacturing business? Because to build something like this, to build these systems, to find the right people, everything that it takes to do what they do, um, I'm not sure that I'm in the position right now to do something like that. Yeah, so it was a combination of like excitement and awe, just being able to see this facility that, you know I have products from. Most of the people in the community have products from, um, and to see what it takes to put out things at that level. Um,
Mm.
and it was this mix of that and kind of fear again of what what do I really want to do moving forward with this, because it's, I'm mid 30s. I have two kids. I have a teenager. I have a toddler. I have a wife that is ex-military. She's disabled. A lot of foot issues, both feet, leg issues, nerve issues, everything. And um, it's and that's one of the problems we've had with, scaling recently is, we're we are organized. We have systems in place. They're just not as robust as they need to be yet. And a lot of that came from, you know when I started this, and we talked about this before, but when I first started, I looked at it as, well, how many of these do I have to build just to pay my bills for the next month? It wasn't, and that's really where I went wrong the first time. The mistake was thinking about this as just the first month in the future, or first couple months in the future. Um, I wasn't thinking of it as a business initially, that I was going to scale, that I was going to build into this big thing. Um, but people kind of latched onto the products, and that ball got kicked down the hill, and it's been this constant game of trying to scale the business on the fly and try to integrate new systems and try to improve, our work environment to be more efficient. And when I started with 19, I think it's a 69 or 70 closing lathe, that was beat to hell, a bench grinder, a hobby bandsaw, and um, a drill press that wasn't even a drill press. It was a old valve seat grinder that I bought at an industrial auction. Yeah, so it was really just getting the tools to just start making things, but they just weren't, um, they weren't built to do what we're doing now. And I since then I've bought, a better bandsaw, another lathe, another drill press, um, and we and made these efforts to scale. But it's, man, when you go in Rogue and you see all of this crazy equipment and the automation, and like, and what it takes to do that, it it really kind of, it really opened my eyes to what am I going to want to do, to am I trying to scale a manufacturing business? What am I going to do, as far as, what is this business going to look like? And you asked me before, last time we talked about like where do I see Mutant in 5 years, and I don't think I had a really good answer for you because I wasn't really thinking that far ahead yet. And you also asked me what advice I'd give to somebody, and that part's still true. But if you're going into a business or you're going, you need to look at it from the standpoint of this is going to be successful. How do I handle that? What systems do I need to put in place to make sure everything runs smoothly and everything does its job, and the people that need to do those jobs are accountable. And um, I made the mistake of coming at this from like a technician standpoint of, we're gonna do all the welding, we're gonna do all the cutting, we're gonna do everything, just to get this thing moving, because I had to get out of this situation. My wife couldn't work. I was really struggling mental health wise with where I was at. A lot of that was my daughter getting a little older, and they start talking about, well, I want to do this when I grow up, and I couldn't keep looking at her and telling her, follow your dreams, do whatever, go after it, keep, all the stuff we all want to tell our kids to do, and then, but I'm working this job that I hate, and I'm miserable every day, and I can't engage with my kids, and it was really messing with me for a while. And I started this to do that, to be able to be able to tell my kids to do what you want to do, to if you see something in the world you don't like, to try to change it. But I'm here being this hypocrite, because I'm not. Hold on, give me a second here.
No, you're good.
I didn't feel right, constantly telling her, you need to focus on your grades, you need to get your stuff together. And at this time she was 13 or whatever, she's more focused on her friends than anything. And, but so I was just in this rush to get out of that situation and get into some environment that was going to push me forward, regardless of what that was. And instead of building the business, it was just building equipment. It wasn't building Mutant Metals as a manufacturer, as a developer, as whatever you want to call it. So we kind of got our stuff together for a little bit there. I had my cousin working for me. We were banging stuff out. We were finally making lead times consistently. And then, he decided that he was going to go work for his dad on his business. And when he did that, I was solo for a few months. And that's when stuff really started getting out of hand as far as lead times. And I was keeping up for a while, but, the lathe would go down, the other lathe would go down, the drill would go down. And there wasn't anybody I could call to come repair this stuff. I had to figure it out. I had to modify a lot of equipment. I've had 3D printer go down multiple times. Just everything. And it would be, I'd go to order more stainless bar, and they say, "Well, sorry, this component of this stainless comes from Russia or whatever, and because of that, we're back ordered for 6 weeks," or So any mistake, any like issue in that chain of what it took to produce this stuff kind of snowballed into bigger and bigger issues, and there was no robust system to fall back on. I imagine if Rogue has these issues, and I'm sure they do, I'm sure they have issues with equipment going down and material issues and stuff like that, but they have such robust systems that back everything up that it doesn't grind them to a halt, you know. And I'm sure we could build that eventually, as far as just making the system more robust and having backup equipment, which we do now, backup welders, backup drill, backup lathe. But it's just still not optimal. So when Rogue came in and they offered to make the dip attachment, and I went down there and seen that, and it got me thinking about, that question you asked me, where do I see this in 5 years? And do I have what it takes to build this out to where I want it to be? And the initial idea was, let's build Mutant Metals as this manufacturer of highly customizable equipment that filled as many needs as possible. Almost that common mistake of trying to be everything to everybody, And, we did okay for a while at being able to do that, about custom colors and, welded end caps on equipment and like all the premium features that people wanted. But it was so much work for the way that we have to do the manufacturing. It's just not sustainable. And I looked at what investment would be required to really ramp up. Like, we're talking lasers, CNC lathes, CNC mills, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of initial investment just to get to a point where, we can make our lead times, that we could come up with new products and get them out there. And the more I look at that, the more unrealistic it kind of seems to be at this point in time. So, how I see this going now is, we're still going to make the stuff we make now. Rogue is going to make their version of the dip attachment. It has, some differences to it cosmetically. They have a integrated gusset, which I'll show you here in a minute. It's a little stiffer than ours. It's a touch heavier. But all around, it's pretty close to what we're making already.
Right.
They're going to be offering different options. They mentioned they're going to offer color options in the future. You could get them now in stainless handles or black carbon steel handles, black carbon steel pin, stainless pin. So they're trying to keep like that theme of still feel like filling as many needs as you can, because this community, this industry is so individualized now. People want the custom colors. They want the premium materials. So I think so far they're doing a good job at trying to keep with that theme, and hopefully we could expand into that a little more. But anyway, if you read our homepage on on our website. It says, we're focused on the home gym community, and we're focused on um, innovation. And the the common mistake a lot of people make is you think of innovation um, as just a cool idea or whatever. But innovation really isn't innovation unless you could get it out there, unless you could make it a real tangible thing that isn't just a physical model, but it's a model that can work, that could be marketed, that can be expanded. you know um, it has to work, and you have to be able to deliver it. And right now I'm good at making things work, but what we're not good at right now is getting the stuff into the hands of people, at the scale that's necessary. And I I don't think I really understood how large this community of home gym users was until I started getting deeper into, communicating with everybody, with just seeing what sales were like, and all these new people coming in constantly. Um, and, you know, like I said, it was this mistake of um, not thinking about scaling from the beginning, not thinking about it really being successful, but just thinking about it as, this is how I need to make money. And I just need to figure out how to pay my bills for next month, and I'll figure out the rest from there. Um, so I think what we're going to end up doing here is we're going to take the opportunity that Rogue's given us here, um, because through the dip attachment we will get a piece of everyone sold, and with those resources, we're going to back off a little bit as far as manufacturing goes. We're going to get our lead times caught up. Once we hit a certain threshold on lead times, there's a chance that we might stop production altogether, for a period of time, and restructure the business model more towards development, and restructure our main customer as not just the home gym user, but the companies that have already built these super robust systems to serve these communities already. Because I'm not in a position right now to scale something like this, and I'll show you why here in a minute. But this just makes more sense to me. I have product ideas, maybe like, I'd say a third of those, if I had the resources, I could probably get a working model of within the next 2 years, if that's all I was focusing on. And a lot of them don't have any current analog in the market. There's nothing really like what they are. And they solve some problems um, that I've always had as a home gym user, and that I know other people have. And I'd like to really just focus on that. So I think what we'll do is, in the future, instead of keeping with this model of build to order, which is extremely difficult to predict. It's extremely difficult to predict how much material you have to keep backlogged. You know, it's harder to organize your production. You do The one benefit is exactly what you need to make, but you're already starting in the hole as far as time goes. You're and because of that, any issue like the issues I talked about will continue to compound. Um, And
Right. Yeah. It seems like you were never able to catch up, and then little issues kept popping up. You fell even more behind, and you weren't able to innovate as much as you'd like.
yeah, I mean, after the snapbacks came out, I pretty much stopped working on new stuff. Like I
Yeah.
just couldn't. We're doing all these hours. I was already getting burnout, and even with being burnout, couldn't slow down. I've worked 7 days a week, every week, pretty much since this started. And
Right.
what I got out of that last job for to be able to raise my kids, to be able to, I have a physical therapy degree, but I can't help my wife because I don't have time to do it. Um, you know, my daughter has some of the same, you know, mental health issues that I had at her age. And I have the tools to help her with that, but I don't have the time to do it. And the whole reason I got into this beyond just making money was to get ideas out there, was to, you know, take take a lot of these ideas that I had from being in a home gym and getting them out there, because I know people have these problems. I know people are looking for these products, and that's how I feel I can bring value to the community the best, is by focusing on that piece, and then using the help of these other manufacturers. And not just Rogue, but I'll be honest, Rogue let out this hand, so we're gonna do everything we can to serve them first. If we come up with a product idea, it is going to go to Rogue first. And if they don't want to do it for some reason, um, it doesn't fit their manufacturing model, doesn't make the margin they need, whatever it is. Um, Sorry, I got dogs in the background here. Um,
That's all right.
but uh, you know, we'll put it out there, and I think what we'll do is we'll do batch runs of new products. So the idea that I have in mind is to come out with a new product, produce, say, 20 to 100 of them, depending on what it is, and then not produce those again. Um, maybe send out some beta test units, dial stuff in as much as we can, and then try to deliver it to these manufacturers in a fully cooked version that they can take and directly integrate into their workflows. Because like a business like Rogue, they're so large that, and there's so many factors to consider, that when you're developing something, you know, it's tough to really be super innovative, because you've already not that Rogue hasn't innovated anything. I think they're doing a lot more than people think they are, as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you have to understand, with a company like that, that to launch a product like this might cost them, 6 figures just to get a product going. So like the stuff with the patents, and I kind of have to eat my words a little bit here, as far as I've made posts in the past about not wanting to get patents and whatever, but when you're talking about that large of an investment, and then all the people in that system that rely on that system to make money to produce, you know, you have to try to protect that as much as possible, because you're steering this giant ship, and you got to be able to predict what's going to happen as far out as possible. And part of that is, protecting the design. So, and I understand that a lot of these companies would much rather us have protection on it and then license it, um, so it's not just knocked off everywhere, and deal with the Chinese copies and stuff as they come. Um, so there are some ideas that I think I'm going to pursue some intellectual property on, for that purpose. And then, if there's an idea that nobody wants to do, because we're supported by Rogue or by any other manufacturer that we decide to work with, because that's going to be the bulk of our income, we may be able to just release a product in a certain quantity that doesn't make any money. It just solves a problem. And I think by trying to add as much value as possible and trying to, you know, provide the best customer experience for those 20 to 100 people who get that run, that get that initial test run, you know, by adding that value, we can create a closer relationship with our customer that these manufacturers might have a hard time replicating. Um, I'd like to be involved in the community more. It sucked not to be able to go down to the home gym con, and see what you guys were doing. And, I really wanted to go down and talk to some of the other manufacturers that are doing real cool stuff. You have, like Cleva built and, or Cleva or however you pronounce it.
Clava. Yeah, there were a ton.
Uh, you know, Surplus Strengths doing some cool stuff. Black Iron Fit. I mean, there's a bunch of different companies, small companies. Darko, he's doing
Yeah,
some cool home gym stuff. Um,
I thought JD Equipped, Black Widow.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
those
yeah,
types
I
of
mean,
company,
there's
really
tons
cool
of them
stuff.
out there. Um, so yeah, the plan is to go full on development as much as possible, while also keeping a manufacturing component so we can better understand what the manufacturers need from us. And I think the best
Hmm.
way to do that is to do the initial manufacturing and work out the kinks and figure out what the problems are, and then go from there as far as who wants to take this product and actually scale it for us. Because
Yeah,
it, if people are waiting for us to scale a manufacturing business, we're not going to be able to put out any kind of real production for a while. Um, it, it's just not possible. I'm hoping to start maybe, building a shop next year, um, and bring in some better equipment. But I think that's going to be just reflect the tools that these manufacturers have to work with. Um,
yeah,
and that's kind
yeah,
of the idea moving forward.
yeah. I think all of that makes sense. And I definitely want to. I definitely want to hear about the differences between the dip attachments, and just see how yours compares. But before we do that, um, you mentioned earlier in the call, like early that morning, you were getting the moment you found out about the Rogue Velocidor, you were getting blown up by a ton of people
Mm.
saying, Rogue copied your product, or who knows exactly what they were saying. Um, so you were getting blown up by a lot of people just saying, "Did you see this? Looks like they took your idea, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." There are also social media posts. I don't think we've ever seen the community react quite like that. It was like everywhere. It was on. I had an Instagram post. Garage Gym Reviews I think there was something on the Facebook page there where it went really, really deep. A lot of attacking, etc. I wanted to hear why you think that may have been, because there's certainly other smaller manufacturers where larger companies have been at least inspired by, and you didn't quite see the reaction as opposed to this time around.
Um, I mean, I don't have a real good answer for you there. Only thing that
Gotcha.
I might be able to come up with is, um, the two things I really wanted to focus on, coming into this, was product quality trying to produce the best product we could produce, and um, overall customer satisfaction. And even though we fall short on the um, not getting stuff out on time on the lead times, we really do try to make a good product. We try to work with customers as much as possible with, you know, they have some weird rack or whatever. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the big response was other than that, I spent a lot of time, if I was, if I was, if it was before bed, or, you know, I was sitting on the toilet or something, I'm talking to people. I'm trying
Yeah.
to, I'm trying to, get relationships going with everybody and kind of see what everybody's up to, and, just try to
Gotcha.
understand the market as much as possible and understand the customer as much as possible and try to connect with people on a more individual level. And I think that's what a lot of the larger manufacturers lack, and why we could bring some value there, because, like I said, it's really hard to build all of those systems and have something so systematized also be very personal. Um, and the only way I could really see to scale something like that is with like the new AI tools. But even then, you know, if you're a person talking to an AI and you figure that out, I imagine you probably are not going to feel too great about, I'm just talking to, a computer here. You know,
Hmm.
I think people just want to know that you understand that, that they're people, that everybody's going through some version of the same thing here. Um, we're all we're just trying to make it. We're trying to do what's best for our families, our kids, ourselves. Um, so I try to keep that in mind, even with, some of the more nasty interactions I've had with customers, usually about lead times. Um, I even with the rogue stuff, I didn't want to just come out of the gate guns blazing and, you know screw rogue this and all this stuff. Like it just doesn't accomplish anything. Um,
Hmm.
you know, because at the end of the day, rogue, as big as they were still started by people, that had their own problems and their own reasons for doing what they did. And um, you know, Bill's done I've talked to him quite a bit over the last couple months. Um, and he's just a normal dude. I mean, it's not like everybody envisions these people that run these large companies as, they're all these sharks and emotionless. Just yeah, and I think that kind of highlights, though, the issue with those companies is that, and what I said is, they can't really make these very personal connections because you have to focus so much on making these systems more and more robust, building everything as a system, compartmentalizing everything. And all these things just aren't very human. They don't feel human. And we're coming into this world of artificial intelligence and all these smoke and mirror tools that make it look like there's people behind them. But you get this overall sense of feeling of it just lacking some kind of personal touch. So I think
Hmm.
if these companies have someone out there that can do development for them, that also has a close connection with the community, um, where we could be involved in events, where we could be involved in giveaways, where we could be involved in talking to people directly about what their problems are, what they would actually like to see happen. Um, I think that is probably the reason for the reaction, and and probably how we could offer the most value to the market right now and how we could, make the most impact.
Cool. All right, you want to show me the
Yeah.
new
I'm gonna
products
I'm gonna turn
or not?
my camera off for a second so you don't see my eyes, but
Yeah,
be right back.
that's fine.
So I'll turn you around here in a second, but if I could figure out how to turn you around. Um, I don't see where to spin the camera on this thing. Anyway, I mean, you were in my basement. So, like, when you
Okay.
this rogue stuff feels, this, we're going from this to, when I started this, the original drill's not even here. That's the original bandsaw there. Um, I don't even know where the bench grinder is or whatever. That thing kind of crapped a while ago. But
I guess I didn't even realize you were doing it in your basement.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we get emails all the time of, hey, Mutant Metals team, hey, can you guys
Yeah.
send me to a sales rep? Can you? No, I can't.
Uh-huh.
I can't. So let me try to set you up here so we could see. Sorry, I lost you a second.
Oh, that's all right.
Um, so have might have to cut this part a little bit. I really need to figure out
That's okay.
how to spin your.
Should just be on the screen,
That it
right?
was, but it's not now for some reason.
Can you click it or tap it?
Yeah, I don't. I can't get it to spin around. I don't see where it does that. Um. Anyway, so here is the Rogue prototype that they sent me.
Uh-huh.
Pretty similar. This plate's a little larger. This plate's a little larger because they had to use a 2x3 piece of tubing back here to do this integrated gusset, which is a cool feature. Um, logos on the bottom now too, so in storage position you could check that out. Um, still have the plastic on the front for storage position for protection. These are going to be able to come in stainless. Handles will be able to come in stainless. This gusset makes this thing quite a bit stiffer. Yeah, if you see on a lot of people have concerns about like flex on the dip attachment, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
just the unit settling in as far as like torque on the arms and the plastic compressing stuff like that. Um, but this kind of eliminates that um, versus ours. Some people still might prefer the look of this. It's a little smaller, a little lighter. All of them come with stainless pins, welded end caps, and we might continue to make this. For now, we're going to continue to make this version. Doesn't have that gusset on the bottom. Does make it a little more low profile. Plate's a little smaller. This is smaller. Um, but other than that, they're pretty similar. Um, which I like, because at first when we were talking about it, it seemed like they were going to have to be quite a bit different for manufacturing reasons. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much the difference between those two. They're pretty close.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean this is it, and this is the whole thing.
It's beautiful.
That's all that's going
It's loaded though.
So, Basement Brandon, I'm here with you, dude. I'm not just a garage gym guy. So the garage gym's that way. Yeah. I'm not going to show you that because it's torn to pieces right now. But so let me set you up here. But yeah, you could see my pink walls. Bought this house off of a sheriff's sale that was in pretty rough condition. And the last time it was updated was probably like 1970. So everything was green and pink, and like you could still see it on the window trim and stuff like that.
Gotcha. I'm sure it's a pain to get some of that stuff up and down.
All this equipment had to come through that 27-inch door.
Oh man.
Had to all be carried in by hand. Had to put in air quality systems, seal things off. All of our welding, everything is done in our old root cellar. That's all sealed off. Nothing can catch fire in there. And we filter all our air. We do all the stuff that we need to do correctly. But yeah, this is why we can't keep going this way. We can't scale, because I can't, until this rogue stuff gets going, I can't afford to build some building or to rent some big industrial space out, or to buy CNC machines, or to hire 3 more people like a lot of people tell me to do.
Yeah.
We're working already on razor thin margins. And that's it. If you're gonna start a business like this, figure out exactly how much you want to make. Figure out everything, even if it's guessing at first. Just kind of get an idea of what everything is. But yeah, I mean, it's still kind of crazy. We just started this 2 years ago. November 2020, kind of in the middle of the pandemic. We saw steel prices increase 3-fold, stainless prices doubled, and we didn't want to just jump our product price super high, mainly because orders incoming are what pays our house bills.
Right.
We hold on to the cash to do the production, but anything, if we're not selling stuff, I'm not making anything. I'm losing money every day, and that's one of the issues with doing this made to order model is, if these things happen, you have issues. They can end up, it costs you money on on the back end of the job, and you really don't know if you're going to make money on it, versus if you do all your stuff up front and then sell it as an in-stock item. Exactly what your target is. So that's one of the reasons that even when we move to this this model of doing development, it's going to be stuff done in batches. We're going to get most of the stuff ready ahead of time, and the only work that's going to be done on the back end is going to be the customization, which we're going to lean into. I want to be able to do like some metal art stuff, some more clear grind stuff, like what I sent you, the dip attachment I sent you to the home gym con, with the blue and red, with the grind pattern underneath. We're going to do some candy colors. We're going to expand the colors, the stock colors offered. and hopefully have the time to be able to do adaptions to some of the more odd racks. And because we're going to be doing a limited run, we'll be able to have the bandwidth to do stuff like that, which we try to do already. But custom stuff, and I get emails all the time, people asking for custom stuff, and it's custom stuff is just hard to do. It's hard to take on. There's so many variables in it. So I think we're really going to be doing a lot of custom stuff. It's just we are, as far as cosmetics go.
Yeah.
We're going to do a lot there, but like custom build stuff, it's just isn't going to work for us. But yeah, that's
Certainly.
it.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, that's very cool. I'm glad we were able to get the story out. Seems like everything's in a little bit better of a place. I know there's still quite a bit moving around.
Yeah. A lot of people I see like online that are talking about Rogue cut us some big check or something, but there's no check yet. Like, these have to sell.
Yeah.
So
still plenty of work to do. Yeah.
We want people to buy the Rogue versions. Like, we don't have to do anything to make money off the Rogue version. Buy the Rogue version. Don't think you're hurting us by buying the Rogue version. If anything, you're helping us not only with the money, but establishing a solid relationship with Rogue, which is what we're trying to do. It's our full intention to offer them as much value as possible, and any future manufacturer we work with, the same thing. So
Got it.
buy the Rogue version. That's going to get us to the next step. If you want to see new things come out, share the Rogue page on your Instagrams, your Facebooks, Twitter, whatever it is. Just kind of get the word out, and Rogue's distribution, I'm sure, is going to do its job as far as getting the word out as well. But
cool.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, yeah, buy the Rogue version then. Unless you want something
if you
really
want the
specific.
stuff,
Yeah.
you want the metal, we're still going to do it for now. There is going to be a price increase here over the weekend to reflect that, because we're going to only offer the dip attachment and welded end caps, threaded handles, all the like premium options. And the only thing that's going to be kind of a la carte is like the grind pattern or something like that. So, and then there might be a point where we don't make the dip attachment anymore. I don't know yet, but I kind of want to keep that as a flagship product for now. But the next step is to possibly work on getting the snapbacks to a more finished model, as far as someone like Rogue would want to produce, because right now they're just not very, and that was our problem too, but they're not very conducive to mass manufacturing.
Gotcha.
So, and we're going to get them as much stuff as we can to try to get more resources to keep this moving and to get more cool stuff out there. Because if we're going to innovate, part of that is getting it out there, and right now we're just not doing it as well as we need to do. So, follow us on Instagram. If you want updates, that's where I'm usually giving the most updates. We try to send out emails, but it's real hard for me to send out emails on any basis, especially to individual people. And I'm working on systems to fix that. And we shouldn't have that problem in the future with this batch stuff, So, everything will be batch and in stock type stuff. But yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, good way to wrap it up. Thanks for taking the time to do this. I think a lot of people will find this story pretty cool, and it's good to get firsthand word from you. So yeah, thanks again. It's going to do it.
Yeah, man. Thanks.